Hello and welcome to this LINQ intro video. My name's Neil and today we're going to take a quick tour of the LINQ language and then see how this translates into the LINQ platform. So LINQ models the digital twin of the organisation, and we have distilled what an organisation is into these four nodes: information, action, system and people. The LINQ language creates the relationships between these four entities in a very structured way, the LINQ ontology. We suggest that actions take place inside an organisation and they create content. Could be data, might be information, could be knowledge. But this content, this information is required to support the next action that takes place. And that in turn creates more content, more information. Ultimately, we get to a point where we have created an information asset that allows us to deliver a business outcome. Just think about your own organisation and the types of content that you access on a daily basis that allows you to do the work that you need to do. And when you've done your work, think about the content that you have created. It might be the customer account that we're creating, which gives us a 360-degree view of our customer, but also allows that customer account to be used in other parts of the organisation. So this is the information flow part of our business, a series of actions and information that ultimately create information assets that allow us to deliver a business outcome. The enablers of that flow are people and systems. So the LINQ language says that people perform actions. And in order to perform an action, you have to use a tool which we call a system. We specifically describe systems rather than technology, because there are plenty of systems out there which are not technology, such as paper or even a conversation at the water cooler. So the relationships that we form here are the system that's used by the person to perform the action. Systems can also automate actions. For example, a CRM might produce a report just based on some new input coming into a customer record, and systems supply information. Here, think about Excel providing an Excel worksheet, a piece of paper providing a note, the CRM providing the customer record. So this is the base construct of what a LINQ sketch looks like. Then, over the top of this, we think about some characteristics of each of these elements, which we capture as data into the model. So let's start with information value. This is a key attribute that we look for in a digital twin of the organisation. What is the value of the information that is created that allows us to generate this business value through a business outcome? There's a video on YouTube which goes into some depth about the information value conversation that we need to have in order to capture this value. In this video, I'm just going to say it's a scale between 0 and 10. And when we apply that value at this information output level, LINQ cascades that value through the rest of the model. So we now understand the value of the systems, the actions, the information, and the people that are required to allow us to build this information asset. This creates a value lens through the organisation. And as we find actions that create more than one piece of content, we are able to aggregate value. And this allows us to really see which people doing which work using which systems creates the most value for our organisation. We also account for the cost of systems. So when a system automates an action, we can account for the proportion of the cost of that system against the action that's being performed. We then take this and add it to other action costs that we capture throughout the sketch. The classic being people absolutely have a cost to the organisation, and if we understand how long actions take to perform, we can put the cost of the action into this flow. We then aggregate these costs up to the information output so we understand how much that asset costs to create. So this is the language of LINQ. Now let's take a look in the platform and we'll see how this becomes a reality. So here we are inside LINQ and we're looking at the language construct but in a sketch. Here you can see we have got four node types: information being green, action being orange, systems being blue, and people being purple. And these fit together in the way that we saw in the PowerPoint slide. So for example, here is a system that's being used by this person to perform this action, and this action creates this information. It's an output from this action, but it's an input to this process here, which is being performed by this person using this system. Because we understand the cost of these people, in this case $100 an hour, we can cost this action based on the fact that it takes 2 hours to perform and it happens 260 times per year. This cost is then allocated to the information outputs that it creates. So a portion of that cost is going to this output here, and another part of the cost is going to this information output here. In this part of the sketch, we can see where we have some system automation. So the other part of the language is, this is a system that is automating this action. This system also carries an hourly rate, in this case $5.50 per hour. The action that the system performs, it only takes 2 seconds, but it happens 260 times a year. So rounded up, this action costs the business $1 to perform. You can also see we are accounting for the systems which provide information. This is the relationship here. So this is how the LINQ language from the slide translates into the model that we are building as our digital twin inside the LINQ platform. To end, we'll take that to a final step, which is let's apply an organization's vocabulary onto this ontology. So this is a water meter company who are doing water meter readings by sending people to visit water meters at homes. And here we can see we have the mapping system used by the metering team to create the routes that are going to be walked in order to do the meter read. The output from this action is the next scheduled read date, which lives in the CRM, and the meter reading routes, which live in the mapping system. These are then the inputs that allow the meter reading batch to be created by the metering team using the CRM. We have some costs here. The metering team costs us $50 an hour, and this meter reading route planning process takes 1 hour to perform. We're modeling a single instance here for doing a meter read. You can see as we go through this sketch, these connections make it very easy for us to build a story about what goes on in this part of the organization. To the point the reading run is created in the CRM, it's then allocated to a team to go and do the meter read. We either miss the meter read or we perform the meter read, and ultimately we get to the point where we are able to issue a bill to our customer. This is how the LINQ language becomes real for organizations as they build their digital twins. Thanks very much for your time, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.